Welcome to Life Church Devotions, and thanks for joining me today. I've been talking to you over the last couple of days about the humility of Jesus and how this brings into us His servant heart, not just in action, but in nature, in character, in attitude. And there's so much to be said about this. You know, if you ever have the time, find Andrew Murray's book, Humility. It's a phenomenal booklet that I read when I was a young boy, and it will bless you. But I want to open my Bible with you in John chapter 5. John chapter 5 is a powerful book. Remember when Jesus went to the pool of Bethesda and he saw there a man who had been ill for many years, 38 years to be exact. And he looked at him and he said, "Would you like to be made well?" And the man said, "Well, I have nobody to help me into the water," for they believed that when the water was moving, an angel was in there, and whoever would get in there first would get healed. And he'd been trying to do that for 38 years. And he said, "But every time I get to the water, somebody else gets there before me." So Jesus said, "Well, would you like to be well?" And the man looked at Jesus, and Jesus said, "Come, take up your mat and walk." And instantly the man was healed from being paralyzed. And Jesus said, "Now go and don't sin again, lest something worse came upon you." So in that instance, we could see that man had indulged himself in a lifestyle that caused him harm. And you know, this is also where the Lord wants to help us always to make good choices in the way that we live every day. But this man was healed, and after this experience, because this happened on the Sabbath, there came a great argument with religious people because they didn't believe you should carry your bed on the Sabbath day because that was work. And Jesus, when he was asked, "Well, how can you do such a thing on a day such as this?" Jesus said, "I could do nothing except what my Father shows me. My Father loves me, and He shows me everything that He does Himself, and He will show me greater things than these, lest you marvel." In other words, what moved Jesus to do what He did was the love of God. The real spirit of humility, friends, always reveals the love of our Father. And Jesus started a conversation with all of these people to try to help them see how wonderful it is to be moved by the love of God. That's called compassion, where you inwardly feel God's love encouraging you to do good and kind things for others that help heal them, restore them, strengthen them, encourage them, provide for them. And Jesus started this conversation, and it's amazing how these people were so blind, you know, and they were not anymore seeing this beauty of God's love. And Jesus said something to them that I find most powerful. He said in verse 41 of John 5, "I do not receive honor from men, but I know you, that you do not have the love of God, my Father, in you. I have come in my Father's name." In other words, I have come representing His Spirit, His presence, "and you do not receive me. However, if another comes in His own name, representing Himself, Him you will receive. How can you believe who receive honor from one another and do not seek the honor that comes from the only true living God?" And I find that such the spirit of humility. I find that such nature I'm talking about. The nature of humility is that it is not within your motivation to seek the honor of others. That's not what motivates you. What motivates you is the love of the Father. Jesus said, "I love you with the love with which the Father loves me. Come and abide in His love with me." I'm going to talk about this over the next few days in the devotions. Jesus said, "The love that moves me towards you is the love of God. Come and abide in the Father's love with me and learn to love one another as I love." The real spirit of humility motivates you with God's love for others. But folks, when it is within you and me, and that can be such an uneasy thing to get rid of, a root, a strain of nature that causes self-pity, or that feels rejected, or feels unaccepted, or feels not loved, or feels not appreciated, that root all comes not out of humility, friends. That comes out of the opposite. It comes out of self-seeking. It comes out of pride. That root that needs others to recognize you, needs others to appreciate you, needs others to honor you. That root is the root of the fallen nature of man. It's a sin nature. You don't see that in Jesus. You don't see that in Jesus. And the Lord wants to help you and me to uproot that part of our nature that causes self-pity. Self-pity can be such a painful attitude to have, where you cause other people to feel guilty because they are not doing all of these things for you. And that can be painful for you who has self-pity, but especially for others that have to put up with that kind of nature. I want to encourage you, let Jesus teach you his humility and free you from self-pity and free you from the motivation that seeks to be recognized and honored and appreciated by others. And that doesn't mean we can't be appreciated, sure. People could say thank you and say, wow, that was excellent. But that's not what you live off. That's not what you feed on. That's not what motivates you. And when people do that, I think it is always honorable to say thank you. In other words, to show appreciation when people show you appreciation. I think that's just good character. But let me read you this today in closing, and then tomorrow we'll have another session on this subject, because I think there's more to be said about this. Let me read you this. I love these words. They're in the Classic Amplified. It's John chapter 8, verse 50 and verse 54. And Jesus says this, listen to this. However, I am not in search of honor for myself. I do not seek, and I'm not aiming for my own glory. There's one who looks after that. He seeks my glory. He is the judge. If I were to glorify myself, magnify praise, and honor myself, I would have no real glory. For my glory would be nothing and worthless. My honor, listen to this, must come to me from my Father. It is my Father who glorifies me, who extols me, who magnifies and praises me, of whom you say that he is your God. Oh, my dear friends, this is living. When you feel the Lord's favor in you and on you, when his face, like Moses says in number 6, is shining upon you, when God is looking upon you with a big smile, and he says, wow, well done, good and faithful servant. I was hungry and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me to drink. I was in hospital, you came, and in prison and you visited me. Because when you did this for the least, you did it for me. How wonderful to live in the Heavenly Father's love, in the Heavenly Father's favor, and to grow in motivation to serve and give your life to love and bless others, even those who hate you, even those who curse you, even those who have been against you and caused you much suffering, that you have aught against no man. Why? Because God's love has cleansed you from all that pain and all that disappointment and hurt and filled you with his goodness for others. I tell you, humility is what opens this up to you. So let Jesus teach you today. God bless you. Thanks for joining.